but the very foundation of the Indian economy. Yet challenges that women face in the workplace are diverse and deep-rooted. Our upcoming discussion serves as a platform for us to delve into these challenges. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the speakers on the panel. May I please welcome Geetha Ramamoorthi, MD KBR India, Harjit Kaur, Head Talent Acquisition APAC Equinix, Jhansi Jagannadham Naidu, Director of Talent Acquisition in India, Micron Technology, Sureeti Saraf, Director People and Capability Business Partner at Mastercard. The moderator for this session is Vinod, the founder and CEO of Diversity Simplified. So before we get on head start into the panel discussion, please keep your questions ready in the Q&A section below. The moderator will take them towards the end of the session. So over to you, Tina.
Thank you so much, Shanali. Good morning, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be at the HerRising event today, India's biggest conference and career fair for women. As per the recent NASSCOM and EON 2023 report, the DEI landscape in India, Inc., women's workforce participation in India still stands at 22.3 versus the global average of 47% in corporate India. Today, we come together in solidarity as women and allies. It's essential to recognize the undeniable impact and potential of women as a driving force in the Indian economy, our workplaces, and society at large. It gives me immense pleasure to talk to these panelists for today who are leaders and broken barriers, set benchmarks, and played pivotal roles in their organizations. So without much ado, let's start with the questions. My first question is for Jhansi. With the Companies Act and SEBI mandating women's representation at the board level in India organizations have seen a triple of women's representation in Indian boards in the last 10 years. However, less than 5% companies have female chairpersons and only 7% women are executive directors. Jhansi, Micron has made some amazing progress in supporting your women employees. In fact, your company's percentage of women has increased for vice presidents, senior leaders, and leaders in technical positions across the globe. Could you share some of the empowering initiatives you'll have at Micron to unlock growth opportunities for women here?
Thank you. Now, firstly, good morning, everyone who joined this panel discussion, and also all my fellow panelists. I'm looking forward for a very, enriching conversation. And the whole of her team, thank you very much. The city representation increase in Micron. Absolutely, it brings a lot of pleasure and happiness, and pride, of course, to be part of Micron and be part of this amazing journey. Each of us, while we do realize it's very, very difficult to kind of, increase our representation of women at the workforce. But at Micron, it is possible because a lot of factors that we have very consciously started to work on. So at Micron, diversity, equality, and inclusion is a foundation for our business, and we all realize that it is a very important part, and we all play an important role irrespective of the title. And currently at Micron, our URG percentage is about 36%. And in our last DEI report, when we see our women applicants for the patents has increased by 10%. And so is our inclusion and index also has increased. So as I said, all of this commitment to include gender equality starts right from formalizing the strategy to execution. And one of Micron's DEI commitments is also to increase our diversity representation. And we also realize that, it just does not, it's just, hiring is just not as a point of influxing a lot of women employees. It is also about, retaining and also developing them. So when we start off from hiring, we kind of ensure that we have a lot of inclusive hiring practices. We use a lot of AI tools to ensure that we mask all the diverse information, and also have job descriptions which are very inclusive. We have enhanced referral bonuses for women employees where employees can refer. And we also have candidate allies to mitigate the unconscious bias. And this happens in all our interviewing process. And, focused mentorship programs for women students. And we also ensure one of the strongest pillar and a source of diverse pool is our campuses. And having a very deep relations with the campuses to encourage the women is also important. Apart from that, we do well-being programs, volunteering programs, and all other activities to kind of engage with them. And specifically for the women leaders, we also ensure that there is a focused learning, mentoring, and sponsorship programs. And we also have ERGs, which is the employee resource groups in Micron. And one of our ERG is MWLN, which is Micron Women Leadership Network. And, programs very specifically designed for women leaders, something like Scaling Heights and ensuring we have very DI specific conversations and discussions. So, all of this come together for us and put in all of this ongoing efforts. While we know, we are proud of the work that we are doing, at the same time, we are very humbly believe that there's a lot more for us to do in this. And, we are very, very passionate, bold in our decisions that we want to take and inclusive. And together we are united for this, a diverse workforce at Micron.
Thank you so much, Jhansi. Scaling Heights is a lovely name for a leadership development program. Moving on to the next question. According to a study conducted by the GEMPAC Center for Women's Leadership, about 50% of working women in India leave their jobs to take care of their children at around the age of 30. In addition, out of those who succeed in returning, a major chunk resigns within 4 months of rejoining. Return to work or restart-up programs for women play a significant role in bringing back the talent workforce who've taken a break. Sureeti, Mastercard has done some significant work in the DEI space. In fact, Mastercard's Project Urja, which I understand means energy, has a unique return to work program for women restarters. Could you share more about this holistic program?
Sure. Thanks for the question, Tina. And very glad to be here. Unfortunately, I think, like every time we face technical challenges, today was the day where I faced a technical challenge with my laptop and I'm connected via the mobile. So I hope you guys are able to hear me well, but really glad to be here. Now, answering your question with regards to the USHA program and the Women Returnship program. So yes, at Mastercard, we have a very strong inclination towards the DEI practices that we want to adopt. Break. So the entire holistically, the Women Returnship program focuses the entire thought process on the fact that women who have been on a career back, how would they resume back to work? A career break could be of multiple reasons, something in relation to personal interests, caretaking of your children, elderly, pursuing your hobby. It could be anything. Okay, so women who have been on break, it's a focused program for us to focus and bring them back into the workforce. The entire, and this, frankly speaking, this program enables us to tap into the women talent pool who are probably being overlooked by the traditional methods of recruiting. Okay. And thereby enabling us to focus a lot onto the diversity and inclusivity practices which we want to adopt in the organization. From that, what we understand also, because usually these women could have taken a break from, let's say, a 3-month to a 2-year period. So it becomes very difficult for them to come back into the organization, adapt to that lifestyle of the corporate lifestyle that you want to bring onto it. So there's a very focused, again, a rigorous onboarding program that we give to these women folks who join us back after a career break. And it involves a lot more focus in taking them through the regular onboarding, the induction, then helping them get assimilated in the organization, navigating throughout the organization. It also engages in a lot of mentoring programs that we give a focused attention onto this women set of four. Being a part of the women returnship program, I think, the biggest advantage is that you can come back to work from day one as a full-time employee and absolutely get focused and work on the cutting edge technologies that we in a payment industry work at Mastercard. So I think, that's more or less the crux of the women returnship program that we focus at Mastercard. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you, Sureeti, and you're absolutely clear, so no problems with that. One of the things I've seen in returnship programs is the retention rate is very high when you run retention programs. And that's one of the biggest challenges organizations are facing today is how do you, retain talent that you've trained and you've invested in. So there is a lot of business benefits and workplace benefits as well to returnship programs. And thank you so much for sharing more about that. Moving on to our next question. Deloitte Women's at Work survey included 5,000 women across 10 countries, including 500 in India, across age groups, employment status, sectors, and seniorities. Many of the surveyed women are experiencing a lot of challenges in the workplace, including health challenges related to menstruation and menopause. Among them, more than 33% report working through pain symptoms related to menstruation, and 18% work through symptoms related to menopause, citing the need for more inclusive and supportive policies for women at work. Geetha, in 2021 and 2022, KBR was recognized for its commitment to women with a spot in the top 100 of Forbes list of world's top female-friendly employers. That's amazing. Geetha, could you share a little more about the unique policies or programs at KBR to support, retain, and advance women at your organization?
Thank you, Tina. It's a great opportunity to be here in this panel today, and I've been hearing, both Jhansi and Sureeti talk about the areas that they are focusing on in Mastercard and in Micron. But as far as KBR is concerned, there are a number of areas where we've been able to actually provide a very conducive environment for women to work and feel like they're able to bring their true selves to work. So some of the basics are like we do offer a 6-month maternity leave policy that allows women to spend time with the newborn without having to apply for additional leave or struggle to balance childcare and work. So that's one of the things that was rolled out a couple of years back. We also have creche and daycare facility for our women staff, which is being received well. Now, one thing that's worth considering is in IT, information technology companies, software companies, I think they are a little ahead of the curve in terms of, the measures they took early on to recognize that women need extra support to help them to actually balance life and work. But in sectors like oil and gas, it's been a slightly different story. And so, we've been one of the early movers in this phase, wherein we've been able to, adopt some of these measures that have been tested and proven in some of the other industries, but are paying off for KBR. So apart from these, the work from home and flexi working options are also helping, our existing women employees as well as, new joiners to actually come to KBR because they feel that they're being, provided with all the support they need to actually focus on work and excel in what they do. Besides this, we also offer career support. So like, some of the points I think I heard some of our other co-panelists talk about, there are also areas where, women traditionally don't have too many role models, especially in the industry like oil and gas. So they do need, sort of interventions to encourage them to come out of their comfort zone and, raise their hands for positions that are not typically held by women. And this also stems from the fact that, the male colleagues typically, though they don't intend to, kind of stop women from, taking up those roles, there is that sort of a conditioning in their minds that the women colleagues may not be able to take up some roles like, visit to a site or taking up, kind of a short-term assignment overseas and things like that. So one thing is to deal with that, in terms of dealing with the unconscious bias, but also we lean in to provide career support to women to help them understand that, they have whatever it takes to succeed in that role. So we create that environment, we create the framework for them to take on those opportunities. The other thing that I think I heard perhaps Jhansi mention on the employee resource groups, we do have also employee resource groups that are doing a great work in bringing women together on a platform, and they have regular sessions where they bring in speakers, both men and women, but more of women who have been able to kind of break through barriers and, you know, lead multiple functions or multiple departments, even within the engineering and technology space, to talk about, you know, how they navigated those issues and challenges across, you know, across their entire career. And of course, geographically there are differences, but then there are key takeaways that our women are able to take from those conversations and start to really, you know, dream big, you know, start to aim higher. So that is also definitely helping. And the other thing that I would like to mention about is on the recruitment drive, because, you know, typically in this industry, in certain disciplines, the number of women we get is low. Like, for example, when we talk about piping engineers, there are typically very less resumes or zero resumes as well. So again, there's a lot of stigma associated with the kind of work, you know, people tend to do in oil and gas sector. And we want to actually try and debunk that myth to say that actually, you know, whether it's male or female, this is not about going to a rig or, you know, going standing on, you know, tough terrain and working, but it's about actually adding value through, you know, applying their knowledge, through using smart tools, and through actually strategizing some of the solutioning that goes on behind the scenes. So that is also something that we do. The women-only recruitment drive is also helping, and the conversations we are having with groups of women to encourage them to talk to their other counterparts or their associates, you know, that they worked outside of KBR, is also helping. In fact, I was pleasantly surprised when I have my touch points with, you know, the women employees now and then. At least 25 to 30% of the women that I talk to in KBR are returnees, in the sense they've worked in KBR, left for some reasons, but they joined back because they felt this is the best place that, you know, they can work in, with women-friendly policies and a lot of empathy around, you know, how they have to deal with their personal and work lives. So these are the things that have helped KBR to actually, you know, attract more women. So yeah, back to you, Tina.
Thank you, Geetha. And you raised such a pertinent point, right? Because we can't use a single lens to look at DEI solutions in an organization. The sectors matter so much. So oil and gas or manufacturing or any sector, you need to take a very, very nuanced approach based on, you know, your working model, based on the industry that you're in. And I think, thank you so much for bringing that up, because that's a very, very important point. Moving on, in the diversity benchmarking report of 2022-2023 by HerRising, data from the 300 companies surveyed shows that close to 70% of the companies have been prioritizing gender diversity hiring in the last 12 months, with strong women-specific hiring efforts and strategies for removing gender bias from their hiring processes. In the survey, 63% of the companies have women-specific hiring drives within their organization. I'd encourage everyone to, you know, to have a look at the diversity benchmarking report 2022-2023 by HerRising. Very, very useful insights, especially when you look at gender diversity in the workplace. Harjit, there is a clear push for more participation of women in the workforce, and inclusive hiring practices and programs for women play a crucial role in increasing representation. Could you share some of Equinix initiatives in attracting and hiring women across the spectrum, starters, restarters, and risers?
Yeah. Firstly, good morning, everyone. It was actually very nice listening to the other panelists, you know, before I actually spoke, because there's so much similarities in what we do. And, you know, I think different organizations have, you know, different sets of challenges. So in Equinix, we always say one thing, right? Everyone needs to confidently say, I'm safe, I belong, I matter, right? And that includes women as well. If you notice, you know, like a lot of people perceive Equinix, it tends to be, you know, predominantly, you know, male-dominated type of roles, right? But, you know, that's where we are actually breaking that barriers, right? So if you look, we openly publish our sustainability report where we talk about diversity, inclusion, and belonging. Our CEO, Charles Myers, is actually part of a signatory of what we call a CEO Action for Diversity and Inclusion. And if all of you are not aware, that's the largest CEO-driven business commitment to advance diversity and inclusion at workplace. So we definitely have a lot of push to improve diversity overall, right? And women definitely, because, of the nature of industry, like I shared, there's a lot of perception that women cannot excel in companies like Equinix, but we also look at diversity more broadly, which could be historically underrepresented minorities, returning moms, new to careers, new starters, right? So it's very broad that we actually look into all the spectrum of diversity, right? And one of the things is really breaking that barrier of women, right? Because a lot of women have this perception, especially when they see, that this type of careers traditionally are better suited for men. They don't tend to apply for jobs, right? They have this misconception that they won't have equal opportunity to excel in those roles. And that's where we are focusing on really creating the awareness for women, right? That they have an equal opportunity to excel in any role they have in Equinix, right? Our leaders are committed to push for empowerment of women, and we create a diverse workplace, right? Where we have actually inclusive practice, right? So to start, firstly, to create a diverse place is we need to actually get, a diverse talent pool. Of course, we hire the best candidate for the job, right? But naturally, we need to actually present a different set of candidates for us to actually shift that mindset, right? So when we started off our journey, our practice, right, we were not really getting a lot of diverse candidates. So when Geetha was talking about it, that resonated with us a few years ago. And what we realized that a lot of women were not confident to apply. So what we did was we started to share employee stories. So we started our branding and awareness campaign where we started to actually have women to share their experience on how they actually excel in careers which some perceive that it's actually more suited for men. So we have actually started to create awareness. We share a little bit more about inclusive practice, and we have seen a significant shift of women application in our workforce, which is was pretty positions. No job is difficult for women, right? Sometimes it's we women, we form their own stereotype and we are not confident to apply. That's where we need to actually break the boundary. So we partner with a lot of organizations. We also are very selective with the universities we partner with. We want to make sure that any universities we partner also demonstrate the type of diversity we are looking for as well. So we have partnerships, and we are selective on who we partner with. So also we have also quite a number of programs, similarly, I think what Sureeti was sharing, we also have a program. So we're quite new in India, we just entered the market about 2 to 3 years ago. We are launching a new program called Pathway for Her, where we recognize that women who have left the workforce for like 2 years or more, sometimes they lack that confidence of coming back, to the workforce. And they might also lack the technology skills, right? Technology changes a lot. So this is going to be also a curated program for women, based on their skills and capabilities. We are partnering with a training vendor to help to build their skills, and there will be also mentorship, for the women. And we also have a lot of different programs, to actually, hire individuals with different diversity, internship programs. We also have a career transition program where individuals who are looking to shift to from a different industry to Equinix. So we also support those areas by providing the right training. So quite a number of programs in place. But you can have the best programs, you can have the best partnerships. If you don't have the best, fair, equitable recruitment process, that breaks the whole process. So one thing we have been focusing on is constantly researching and evolving our hiring process. Like in October, we're going to revamp our whole recruitment process to make sure it's more inclusive and equitable. We have been doing a great job because we have been seeing a shift in our gender diversity mix very well. But our TA team, recruiters are trained to have conversation with hiring managers to challenge them, right? We always have a lot of very strict job requirements. The recruiters actually partner with the hiring managers and say, hey, if you want to get a women through the door, you need to look into changing your job requirements. So we proactively engage and we ensure that we give a diverse slate of candidates to the hiring managers. We make sure our panels do have a good representation of different diversity as well. And last but not least, when it comes to offers as well, right? I think I was sharing, I joined at the tail end of the earlier session, right? I think a lot of times, companies, do offer candidates based on historical compensation. As an organization, we have completely removed, we don't even ask anyone about the current compensation. We pay everyone for the job, and that depends whether you're, whether you're from a different gender mix or minority. We pay for the job, and we do not ask the question anymore on current compensation. And that you can see there's a lot of reports in the market that actually talk about inequality of pay, and we are proactively taking the action to remove the inequality. So I mean, this is some of the things. Tina, thanks.
Thank you so much, Harjit. I think you raised such important points, right? You spoke about employer branding when it comes to to hiring diverse talent, and I cannot tell you in my experience in the DEI space that employer branding becomes so important, especially when you showcase your women to the world outside. So that's a very, very important point. You also spoke about pay parity, and that's such a big challenge, right? Even some of the most progressive nations in the world continue to face pay parity issues, especially for underrepresented and marginalized groups. And you spoke about inclusive and equitable hiring practices. And I think that's, like the cherry on the cake, because it's so very important, because we don't look at hiring from that lens, right, of equity and inclusion. And I'm so glad that you are able to do all of this at Equinix. Moving on, Geetha, would you be able to take this question?
Yes, sure.
Okay. So gender discrimination at work is a critical factor for the loss of women from the workforce. While 43% organizations claim that they immediately terminate employees for inappropriate conduct, creation of a safe, supportive space free of microaggressions, discrimination, and harassment is crucial for retention of women employees. Could you share what initiatives your organization has in this regard?
Thanks, Tina. Very pertinent question. So there are a few things that we've been, successfully able to do in KBR. So one of the things is about trainings. So we regularly provide trainings to supervisors and managers to sensitize them around, how they should treat women employees, whether they are, their, peers, or whether they are their team members, and help them in, and help in preventing discrimination. So that's, generally we have a slew of trainings like unconscious bias training about, why diversity and inclusion is so important for us to succeed as a business, but also as teams. We also look at other mechanisms by which we are able to, kind of mitigate the risks. So for example, there's a whistleblower policy. Apart from POSH, for which we have a committee, we also have a whistleblower policy where women are free to immediately report any concerns or issues or inappropriate behavior that they come across, or unfair practices. So this typically has been quite, quite effective, I should say, because it's completely anonymous, and they immediately it gets kind of routed to a small team that has nothing to do with the business that the person is associated with or aligned with. And so that small team actually goes around to find what exactly went wrong, and they try to kind of, resolve the issue or recommend appropriate actions. So this is in addition to the POSH committee that we have, and that really has been working well. Apart from that, we also, as I mentioned earlier, we also have women support groups that provide a platform for women to express the issues that they face. And there's sometimes a pattern that emerges through this, and out of this, what happens is that there may be top 2 or 3 themes that are identified, and then they bring this to the, senior leadership to talk about how can we address these concerns, and create an environment which is truly inclusive. And just to build on top of this, what me and some of my colleagues do is to have a direct connect with the women employees, simply because, as I mentioned earlier, the overall workforce, if you see, is probably still about 80% men and only about 20% women at a broad level, maybe 20 to 21% women. So there is always a challenge in terms of women feeling safe to talk about certain things. So, some of us at senior leadership have a direct connect, which is in a safe space, and they bring to us issues which they're not able to discuss with sometimes with their line manager, or they have discussed and they have not found a resolution. So I think these areas measures have actually helped women to, kind of come out of all the challenges that they have. And typically we have not seen actually, issues around discrimination and harassment, going up. Actually, I see that these are few and far between, and it appears that some of these measures are really working well. And beyond this, I think, as someone mentioned earlier, it's also about sensitizing workforce at multiple levels. So within the discipline meetings and functional meetings also, there is also a DEI moment where people talk about what should be the right behavior and what should not be the, behavior that people should, kind of demonstrate when they work with colleagues, diverse colleagues. So multiple things at multiple levels are actually, kind of helping us to move the needle on this, Tina.
Thank you so much, Geetha. I think one of the things that you spoke about was around, networks, women networks, and the informal conversations. And that's so powerful and really understanding what the experiences of, any underrepresented or marginalized groups are in the workplace, and especially women in this context. Moving on, Sureeti, this question is for you. How has your organization incorporated its DEI objectives for women into its CSR and ESG strategies? Are there any partnerships or collaborations your organization has undertaken to further the cause of women's empowerment in the broad community or industry?
Okay. Thanks, Tina, again. So, at Mastercard, I'm sure, as I said earlier also, there's a lot of emphasis on the DEI piece that as an organization we put. So, of course, we are very much evolving into the ESG piece. We have just started linking it to our goals and objectives. However, there has been a lot of contribution over the years, over the period of time which we have been doing towards the empowerment of women, or I will say, focusing onto the societal piece, doing our responsibility, the social responsibility that we are trying to do. One of our flagship programs under this whole pillar is the Girls for Tech, where what we are trying to do is it's a kind of a sponsorship program where we reach to girl children, usually in the age group of 8 to 14, 8 to 15 years, because that's the age where they start thinking about their future goals, where could they focus on to. And, this is the time frame, this approach we follow with the girls. Particularly in the sense that we want to enhance their presence in the technology domain. So we have this sponsorship program, which is called as the STEM, which I'm sure people have heard about. It focuses predominantly on the science, technology, engineering, and maths education. So the entire program has been launched wherein we are tapping to this young talent population, I will say, of India, which is again a very significant untapped talent pool for us. And it offers us a nesting ground for the future STEM aspirants. The entire program, I think, I would say it rewards meritorious women, graduates, even graduates in the technology, and it enhances our brand presence in the society, in the top tech, and it proves us as to be a top technology destination for women. Okay, so this is one of the initiatives that we do from enhancing the CSR and ESG piece with the society. It also, enables us to strengthen our presence in the campuses when we go for recruitment drives and, hire the interns or the launchers for the organization from that matter. And it inclusively enables us to keep this nurturing and building a talent pipeline that serves Mastercard to be a great place to work for many of the, for us as an organization, for our people. Okay. Apart from the STEM education, I think, what my friends, panelists also spoke about the fact was on the BR, the employee resource groups. We also have something similar for a women leadership network, particularly program, wherein we enhance, we bring in the entire focus is to enhance the the women representation, whether it's on the senior roles. We focus a lot on under this program, whether it's from the mentoring perspective, going out to the kids and mentoring them out for the future presence, channelizing their energies in the right direction. We also focus around in terms of looking at the holistically the opportunities that we get for people who have been underprivileged and want to come to the technology domain. So there's a lot of focus under the STEM education, I believe, and the Girls for Tech, which enables us to focus a lot on the CSR and the ESG piece, and it enables us to be at the right spot with the folks around.
Thank you so much, Sureeti. And I think, when we look at leveling the playing field and looking at social impact and bringing in larger women into the workforce, these initiatives really matter in the long run. My next question is for you, Harjit. We all know that what gets measured gets done. What measurable outcomes or KPIs does your organization have to track and to gauge the effectiveness of its initiatives for women's growth and inclusion? Have you noticed any positive shifts in organizational culture, innovation, or business growth since the implementation of these measures?
Yeah, definitely. So we do publish, our diversity goals pretty openly. So if you look into our career site or website, we do share that, we actually have put in a 5-year plan that by year 2027, we want to actually achieve 30% of women globally. To some, it might not sound a lot, but for industry, that's a very high number because it's mainly a male-dominated industry, right? So we do publish that, and what we have also done is, we have actually, our leaders do have OKRs. They're part of their compensation is actually tied to how they improve diversity in the organization. But at the same time, we want to prevent, experience where, we just push for a women hire, and then individuals start saying, hey, we hired that women, that the individual is not capable, but she just got hired because she was a woman. So what we are still saying is we still hire the best candidate, but we actually make our processes, our environment more inclusive, where we can actually have women excel in their career. So I know, like what my peers have been sharing, we have been doing a lot of conversation with business leaders. We have like allies council leaders from different organizations who come together to discuss on how we can actually improve the environment for women. So when we started off this journey, talking about how we include how to improve gender representation, we were in the early, I would say, I think we're about 19% of women at the point of time. Right now, we are about close to 24%, and we are in the year of track on, hitting before 2027 to about 30%. And we have been seeing a direct shift on it. As a talent acquisition organization as well, right? We are also constantly educating HR organization. We look at usually in our employee headcount where we see opportunities to improve diversity. We have proactive conversations with it. We look at the market. If we feel that at that level, certain positions, women might not be, might not be a lot of women candidates. We also look into how we build those candidates, whether we look into university hiring or we look at transferable skills from other industries to see how we can actually develop women. So we've been doing very actively, but the KPIs do help us to kind of mindset our leaders. Right now, if you talk to any leader, we don't need to talk about diversity. They'll come to us and say, hey, Harjit, please share with me how you can actually give me a diverse pool of candidates. So we see that the conversations happening from our leaders, not us. Previously it was HR pushing for it, but now every leader, everyone talks about diversity in the organization. Right. Thanks, Dina.
Thank you so much. Moving on to the next question. Jhansi, this one is for you. Implementing DEI initiatives can come with its set of challenges, and we all know that. What hurdles has your organization faced, and how were they overcome? Based on your experience, what advice would you offer to other organizations striving to enhance opportunities for women?
Sure. Tina, it's amazing to hear all the co-panelists talk about, the initiatives they're taking. I'm sure, we are not very immune or different from the challenges that each of them has faced, right? It's a common one. But I think one of the biggest hurdle that we generally see is about having the leadership sponsorship, right? And thankfully at Micron, we have that leadership sponsorship. And in fact, with this, we also have changed our vision statement. And now we say our vision statement has changed to a sentence to a word called for all. So it's now says transforming how the world uses information to enrich life for all. So one is the leadership sponsorship, winning them is very important. And very critically is about how do we address those implicit biases that come. Very happy to hear when Harjit was saying it's become a natural DNA for them. Now they come to her and say that how do we do it? When Sureeti is talking about, Girls for Tech, it's amazing programs. And Geetha was talking about her whistleblower policies. These are all addressing those biases that we can pull out from the system, because these are something that cannot change over time, quickly, right? I have all of this tomorrow morning. I see, I have a very good one. It needs a lot of persistence and a lot of training, coaching, and a conscious and a consistent conversation with all the leaders and the people in the system to make these changes. And, I think we all have to be brave to talk about those biases that generally, naturally come. It might not be, someone is doing, conscious, it's unconscious, right? I was reading a book where it actually says that now we are trying to fit in a world that was being designed for men, right? So imagine the challenges that all of us have to lead to change all of this. And another one, which I'm sure all of us agree, is the limited resources, right? That's one big challenge that we have. How do you kind of balance with those resources and you stay focused with those commitments and the goals that you have? And as, other panelists said, metrics is very important. If you don't have metrics to the goals that you have defined, it is just another line in the statement that you're having. And, sometimes, of course, budget is another thing that we generally see. These are the issues that we have. But looking at, and hearing from all the fellow panelists that they're talking about the amazing things that these companies are doing, I'm very proud and happy that, we are at a very good spot, that all the companies are making very, very conscious efforts to change the whole dynamics and then make DEI, as a part of our DNA. And I think few years down in the line, we might not even have this conversation because it's become an, ingrained part of our hiring process, retaining and developing the women. Thanks, Tina.
Thank you so much, Jhansi. And with this, we close the panel for discussion. And I just wanted to express my heartfelt gratitude to our panelists for sharing their invaluable experiences and their journey within their organizations. Thank you all for being part of this meaningful conversation, and I look forward to witnessing the transformative impact as we move forward, united in our commitment to building a more gender equitable world. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, Harki.
Thank you, Tina, and thank you all the panelists. But we're not done yet. We have a few audience questions. So we've saved a little bit of time because it will make for a very interesting and interactive chat. The first question we have from a attendee is, shouldn't flexibility, to pick this up, please go ahead and answer this question.
I can take it up, right? So when we talk about inclusive workplace, and that's where, I'll say the companies, all of the panelists we come from, we can see that we are actually creating that inclusivity as well. So that is actually, we do recognize that women and not women, but actually any employees sometimes need flexibility. We sometimes say even men need that flexibility to take care of their children as well. So what we do is, right now, organizations who are matured in their diversity, inclusion, belonging practices, you see that they do actually recognize that it's a need to give flexibility to the employees to take care of their children, their family. So most organizations who embrace diversity and inclusion do give, that flexibility of working hours. You can, like some companies are, give actually core hours. You work on certain core hours. The rest of the timing, it's actually going to be flexible for you to work in. If you need to take time off, a lot of companies do give parental leave as well for you to care for your family. So there are a lot of inclusive practices. But I have to say that, most companies right now are embracing it, but there are companies out there who still need time to recognize that it's a need to actually give women a little bit more flexibility. Maybe those are the organizations you want to consider working for, but otherwise most companies are actually starting to look at that.
Lovely. Thank you, Harjit, for answering that. The next question we have is on the IT market's demand. What can we expect the IT market's demand to be like over the next year? Is this growth skewed towards specific industries, or is it spread across sectors? August saw an increase in demand and job opportunities along with a decrease in layoffs. Do you think this growth will persist in the upcoming months, or are there concerns about a potential slowdown? Anybody?
I can take it, Shanali.
Sure, Sureeti. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, we've all seen, the last few years where there had been a huge boom towards talent demand, and, the growth opportunities were very high, especially when just COVID struck around in 2020. And then suddenly we had the great resignation coming in, where we saw a certain decline towards the demand in terms of, people were leaving in, and there was still continuing to be a demand. Now, over the past few months, or I'll say around a year or so, we have been seeing some stabilization coming on with a layoff. This is a cycle that I think the industry goes on, and we have seen it in the past. It's purely linked to how the demand and the supply applies in the market.